Hello, everyone. According to my screen, it says that we are live. So this is going to be rather short. I actually have some business around here that I need to attend to. So I just wanted to make this very brief, but also substantial. We just crossed $100,000 as of a few minutes ago. And um, it is very humbling to make it to that milestone for the second time. We did it around the same time last campaign with Kamen America Volume 4. And as I reminisce on it, a lot of people, they put a lot of emphasis on the six-figure mark. But I think that your emphasis should be on whatever hurdle or whatever milestone you set for yourself. The fledgling creator who's just trying to get their book off the ground, their milestone might be $500 or $1,000 or $10,000. We obviously have spent the years using these individual placeholders to evaluate our success and our growth. So the most important thing for us is that we feel that we are growing and that we're on the right trajectory. So I don't want to overemphasize that like $100,000 or a six-figure mark is the benchmark for any success, because I don't want other creators to feel that either. There was a time about 2 years ago when we couldn't make that. I know that last night, Mark Pellegrini on the Captain Cummings stream, we had mentioned that in less than a few hours, we made more than the lifetime total for Kamen America Volume 1. And that book on Kickstarter, it just gained a little bit north of $20,000, which relative to this campaign might seem very small. But everything is baby steps. Whenever you're a creator, you do want to aim for a high goal, but you also want to be realistic as to where you are right now and manage your expectations accordingly. There are a lot of people that we need to thank and that we want to thank, and I don't think there's enough time in the day to thank all of them. I was recently rewatching, or actually, I was watching the anime version of Bakuman. I had read the manga last year, and if you haven't read it and you're a creator, I encourage you to do so because the story is very good, and it's basically a very metatextual story about how manga is made, and it follows these two creators, a writer and an artist, over a more than 9-year journey as they try to achieve their goals. And as I was watching it again, you see this progress being made, and you're happy for them, like the first time they achieve something. But you realize that's only the beginning because there's so much more that needs to be done for them to get where they are and for the story to end. So obviously, we want to thank our readers. They have been very kind and very supportive. And one thing that we've always said, whether you're a reader who has known us for 4 years or a reader who just came to know us, we've always appreciated the fact that I don't feel like there's any type of celebrity worship or sycophancy. Our readers come to us at conventions and we have conversations. We talk to them as people and as peers because I mean, it's not like we have an entourage or bodyguards or anything like that. I think there's this kind of false mysticism and celebrity worship around a lot of creators when we're really just guys that you won't know from Adam if you ran into us at a convenience store. And we sincerely hope that we have established that where most people can have a conversation with us. I mean, I know that there are lines of privacy that have to be maintained. I mean, obviously, I only have so much time in the day. And if I don't know you that well, then I don't have necessarily the time to answer every question. But I try to do it as best in my ability and based on what I can reveal at any given moment. And I feel like we have that really good rapport with them. I don't think most of our readers really think much about our personal lives. They just want to know where the story is going, and our interactions deal with them wanting to know what's going to happen next, who your favorite character is, more art of this character or that character. And that's something that we appreciate. Last year, despite everything going on, we managed to do, I think, 10 conventions, and every single one of them was a success. If nothing more, we were introduced to 5 or 10 new readers, people who have never met us before. We got to hang out with some of the people that we trust over the years, people who are part of Iconic, including Douglas Ernst and Matt Weldon, Bill Williams, um, Alejandro Mirabal. There are people who we trust just because, from a business point of view, we know that they have an earnesty that you don't encounter too often in this media. Um, but it's been fun, and we hope that with your support, that we will just keep on improving. I mean, that's exactly what we do for all of the capital that we made. Mark and I are the last people to cut a check for each other. We're the last people to get paid. In fact, I gave him his paycheck today for the Indiegogo of Kamen America Volume 4. Everything that we make goes into the next book. It goes into helping with the labor. It goes into helping with fulfillment to try and streamline things so that from the business point of view, that is the last thing the reader has to worry about. They don't have to worry about if their book is going to be late or if it's going to arrive damaged or whatnot. There are mistakes that are made that are a lot of times beyond our control, but we always try to rectify them. I know that there were a handful of damaged books for the last campaign, but those were all addressed privately, and those are going to be taken care of if they haven't been taken care of already. And we know just talking to these readers that they trust us with that. And we're very grateful because we think that if we can have the business side of things covered, then everything else is fine. We just have to make sure that the story we put out is given to readers in a way that they enjoy, that they take satisfaction out of, and that they're excited about. And we hope that our presentation makes it so that paying $10 and $5 to $6 for shipping, we want that awe of surprise where people get it and they feel like they got their money's worth and they feel like they've been taken care of. So there's a lot of people to thank in the general readership. There's a lot of people who are grassroots who have given us support. They're smaller people, smaller creators, but that doesn't mean that their influence has not been tremendously helpful to us. There's people like who have bought pretty much everything that we've read or that we've created, not because, again, of sycophancy, but because they like it. People like Reba the Mermaid, for example. I think she's been with us for at least 5 years, owns everything that we have. Met us at a convention last year. We spent a lot of time together between her and her sister. Just some incredibly kind people. People that honestly, we worked in merchandising as part timers for 9 years, and we made virtually no friends because the culture of the arts and in pop culture is generally not the same world that we're used to. We're used to mostly blue collar work, and for lack of a better term, we're not used to the artsy fartsy scene. So it is incredibly humbling meeting these types of people. You have a few YouTubers who have been very friendly to us, some who have we recorded conversations with that haven't been broadcast yet, and some who have had us on as regulars, people like the Matriarchy. Recently, we did one with Catalytic Comics. We did one last night with Captain Cummings. Wes from Thinking Critical. His viewership is actually fairly large, but he doesn't have to go out of his way to do anything to promote us, and yet he's spoken very favorably about iconic comics properties such as Arc Athena with Eric Canetti, and for our books as well. You have guys like the Comic Book Hut and the SWC brothers. And I know it might be the elephant in the room, but I think this is worth pointing out. Some of the people that we engage with, we consider friends, but amongst them, they might not enjoy each other or like each other. But that's fine. I think that part of being a healthy, mature adult is the idea that you don't have associations that automatically imply a form of guilt or a form of backhandedness to it. There are just two realms of people who might not like each other, but if we're caught in the middle, all we do is not engage with any of the interpersonal drama. I think between men, these are just feuds that have to be dealt with individually and privately, and sometimes it just means not interacting with each other, and that's fine. I consider that to be the mature response to some of these disagreements that people might have. And so far, I think Mark and I have done a pretty good job of navigating it, and we try to be friends with everyone. We're not here to make enemies. Life is too short, and we don't have enough time in the world to engage with it. But that doesn't mean that we can't thank everyone for what they've done and how they've supported us in so many different ways. I think I mentioned the Matriarchy as another person who has had us on. You have Robert Willing, for example. There, Nerdy Girl Creates. She is a new one who just popped up in the scene. I saw that. I think there's an Australian by the name of the man named Kimosabi, and I think he ranked his top 10 independent books of last year, and he actually ranked Kamen America, I think it's volume 3 in there too. So this is very appreciated. Sometimes we don't see these creators until way down the line. Like I said, it's hard to comb through the volumes of audio out there mentioning Kamen America and other independent titles. So it might take a while for us to get to them, but it's always appreciated. There's Animane too. He's a very avid reader. He and a few other people have really dissected our work and have pulled apart pretty much every Easter egg and every breadcrumb that we've laid, and to great joy because they stumble upon the things that we didn't think that anyone would be able to read into, and yet they did. And there's a lot of fan artists out there too, people who have submitted art. There's a lot coming from Japan. We've noticed that we've gotten at least 3 or 4 pieces of art in the last 2 weeks that we did not commission. These are people who just had read our work from across the pond and thought it was good and really wanted to express it. And that warms our hearts too, because we're not only finding a new audience, but we're also hopefully inspiring people to create work based on our characters. So I don't know, there's a lot of emotions that run through it. That doesn't mean at some point we won't fail. I'm pretty sure that at some point we'll reach a plateau, or maybe the sales just aren't there for whatever reason it might be. But as we said in volume 3, as Teddy Roosevelt said, sometimes being the man in the arena means that you are going to fail, and you're going to fail spectacularly. But you also have to dare pretty greatly to achieve that. And you might fall flat on your face, but at least you'll be able to say that you tried. So those are just some of the principles that we try to live by. Again, I mean, you're not going to measure up to them all the time, but being able to at least make the effort in good faith is really what matters. And I know a lot of our naysayers are really watching us like hawks. I'm very aware of that. I know that some people out there might think that they're very secretive, but you're not as secretive as you think, because you have a pretty leaky boat and people do tell us things, but that's okay. We are over here doing our own thing. And you might try and torpedo us. You might try to do whatever it takes to bring us down or put us down. That's fine. I feel like if our business practices are intact, if we are putting out the best quality books that we can at the competitive price, something that everyone else could do who has the capital to do so, if you are not meeting our standards, then that is on you to not try and compete at our level. We will simply keep on continuing doing what we're doing, and we're having a very good time doing it. So I want to thank everyone for, again, helping us get to this point. I am about 12 pages done till being done with Black Ops X Kamen America X Soul Finder. That will be finished here by mid to early February, and that will get us ready for our summer campaign. I got the preliminary script yesterday for Kamen America Volume 6, so I'll be doing that right away. I am going to take the first vacation I've taken in the last year, and that's going to be at the end of February, but it will only be a week. I don't think most people will notice that I'm gone, because I will still make sure to update on social media, but we go right back to work on it. So hopefully, my goal is hopefully to be 2 volumes ahead at any given time, so that by the time the fall rolls around with Kamen America 6, I hope to already be working on the summer volume for next year. So as far as our ethic is concerned for work, that is not slowing down anytime soon. And we haven't even begun to reveal kind of some of the things that we have in the works. I want to thank Shilava for providing us with very excellent music for our trailer. That certainly was a labor of love. She actually reread all 4 volumes multiple times to make sure that she could tell the story that she wanted. I didn't give her any direction as to what she needs to sing. She was the one who chose the lyrics and wanted to make it essentially an emotional theme that took the whole story of Kamen America to this point in a vocal form. And she did a fantastic job. She and her band were excellent. They really knocked it out of the park. Our animators, Someone Else 45, and returning again for the end credits animation, Carl Sia. Again, fantastic work. They put everything they had into it and really achieved what we wanted to have for this particular trailer. And then there's obviously Mark Kern, aka Grums, with the Ember project that they are going through, I guess, the preliminary demos right now for it, but having us be involved in his world and providing us with the turnaround statue, the 3D files that people can print at the end of the campaign was a very generous thing that we could not have seen coming. If you had told me a year ago that this was going to happen, I would have thought that that was just a pie in the sky idea. But this has been a work in progress for at least the last 3 to 5 months. And to finally see it take shape and take life is really cool. And we're not done with that yet. If you paid attention to Discord chat that we had a few days ago, we said that that was only phase one. There's a phase two that is coming at the end of February, sometime between the 22nd and the 25th. And I can't wait to make that announcement. But I think some of you will be very happy. And we're very happy for any person watching who's from the Ember community, because you're welcome to our readership as well. And I hope that you enjoy the world of Kamen America as much as you enjoy playing and living in the world of Ember. I think that this is going to be a very mutually beneficial partnership, and I really hope you enjoy the work. I also want to thank the people in charge of Vanilla Ice merchandising. That was kind of the eyebrow-raising reaction we got from a lot of people who were wondering, this is the strangest team up I've ever seen. But long story short, the person who's the head of merchandising for Vanilla Ice is also a very avid Iconic Comics reader. And so we had a very mutually beneficial partnership going on there as far as that is concerned. So we're very happy to add Kamen America to the list of Vanilla Ice merchandise. And it was a very, very good deal that we worked out with each other. Again, something that was very collaborative. And judging based on the sales of it, we're very happy that people thought so too. Some people were asking, like, what is the connection between the two? Well, a lot of times Vanilla Ice wears American-inspired attire on stage. So we just figured, it's, at least visually, it makes sense. Plus, Kamen America and her group, the Kamen Corps, they're something like pop idols by the time we meet them in Volume 5. It's been about 5 months after the events of Volume 4. And so there are things that they do that has elevated their presence. And we thought that that pairing on the stage looked too good to be true. And I want to thank Genzo-men for being able to illustrate that and deliver that to us in a timely manner so that we could have that ready for everyone. So again, we're very humbled as to the turnout that we've had and the growth in the readership that we've had. It has not been easy, but a lot of times, a lot of the stress that we go through on the day-to-day is not really something that the readers need to know about. These are just things that we have to go through privately, but we put our head down and we work as hard as we can to make sure that we can get the work out, because ultimately it really doesn't matter. The reader from Wisconsin who buys our book without really knowing much about us, all that they need to know is that you're going to get a book that is delivered when we say it's going to be delivered. And when it gets there, they can read it without having to second guess their purchase. Maybe they don't like the work itself for whatever reason, but there's no hostility. There's no animosity based on something that we did that was business related, that we did our best to satisfy them to the best of our abilities. With that being said, there's a few things I want to address real quick. I do want to thank Richard C. Meyer for the video that he put out this morning. I think it's his first one where he devotes pretty much the whole video talking about Iconic Comics and about Kamen America. And he talks about how the great insight that he gleaned from seeing our campaign is that we have gone from crowdfunding to crowd selling. And he noted that most of our sales came from the referrals from word of mouth, just people telling other people, you need to check this out. And that was very astute. It's something that we've said many times. Mark and I, we don't really have that big of a platform. We're pretty prolific on Twitter and on Instagram, but our footprint is not that large compared to a vast number of people. We have a YouTube channel. Obviously, you're listening in right now to it. And we have less than 1,500 subscribers. So that, again, is very tiny compared to some of these bigger influencers. So we do rely on people telling other people, hey, these books are good and they're cheap. Like, you can buy a hardcover book for $10 and then pay $5 to $6 for shipping. And I mean, look at the presentation and everything that you get in it. So he points out some of the things that we do from a business perspective. And I just want to thank him, if he's listening, for that feedback. It was really good. I'm sure that we got a good bump in sales as a result. So hopefully some of his audience who may be tuning in right now will really like what they're receiving, and I hope that we can manage those expectations so that we can give them a quality presentation that they've heard is to be expected from iconic comics. The business side of things I want to address real quick because this is fairly serious, and that's why I wanted to devote some time to it. So there are people who are going to be naysayers. There are people who, for whatever reason, don't like us. They hold grudges from years ago because of business decisions that we have made or disassociations. So in the case of a disassociation, maybe there was someone that I was working with in the past, and for whatever reason, disclosed or undisclosed, it had to be cut off. And I think in any world that would be seen as kind of like not necessarily shady, but that would be less than opportune, even though it happens all the time. There are a lot of partnerships that dissolve for one reason or the other, disclosed or undisclosed. But I think it's one thing to see that pattern. Like if you were to look at me now and say, wow, this Tim guy really can't commit to everything because he's always cutting these ties. Like, what's up with that? I can't think of any time within the last 5 years where that has really happened. Now, some people might say, well, that's not true. You cut ties with Doug Ernst. No, that's not true at all. I was his artist for the first Soul Finder book, but he knew, because of full transparency, I said, well, I can't continue because of the way our schedule is working right now with these books that we have going. I have to focus on franchise. But I'm going to give you an artist who's much better than me, and he's going to take your book off into a completely new direction because he's faster, he's more polished, and I think he suits your book a lot better than I can. And I said I would still be on for almost like an editorial position or to help with digital prepress. So I was never really disconnected from Soul Finder. I mean, that has always been in place. And sure enough, Matt Weldon has done a killer job on the book. They're working on Infinite Ascent right now, just finishing that one up and sending it off to be colored and lettered. And it should be ready here by March, hopefully, if everything goes as planned. So it's one thing to see kind of a repeating pattern of behavior and then call that out as a malfeasance. But to call something out that happened in the past and just keep on bringing it up and bringing it up, I don't think that's almost psychotic. Now, some people might say, well, you keep on bringing up bad business practices. Why do you keep on doing that? Well, one, I'm not calling out anyone particularly. I'm calling out in general. If you happen to project a certain person that you like who falls into that category of what I would consider bad practices, that is not on me. That's on you for seeing someone in my example who you might be fond of, but might be cognizant is probably not doing the best that they can do to use good business practices to help out the reader, whether that be lowering your prices, getting your book out on time, changing the format so that you give them a more premium product for what they pay for. These are things that we do. I don't expect other creators to do them. But if I call it out as a practice that I don't think is good, and you happen to think I'm throwing shade at someone, that again is on you and it's on the creator. It's not on me. So in circumstances like that, where I'm bringing something up in the present, that's not me regurgitating the past. That's me bringing up something that has never been changed this whole time. So anyway, there was a response to this Richard C. Meyer video, in which case someone says, don't promote us because Tim Rim hates you. We don't hate anyone. My mother told me since the time I was 5 years old that you don't hate anything. Now, I'm Catholic, and some people might think that this is cringy, and I don't mean to proselytize, but you don't hate anything. You can hate evil, you can hate sin in a very general, philosophical, moral sense. But I think hatred of a person is not good. I think that that's very unhealthy. You can severely dislike people. You can really have people who get under your skin or you think are jerks, but you don't hate them. And I don't hate anyone just because they have bad business practices. I think what they're doing is wrong. I think that sometimes they can be very obnoxious. I think that they can be very disingenuous, but that is very different than me thinking that someone deserves something as heinous as like death or destruction or whatever. I think that everyone should try and change so that their practices benefit readers, at least from the comic perspective. So this person says, Tim Rim hates you, don't promote him. Now, this name kind of sounded familiar to me, but I didn't put two and two together. So he posts this, and if people want to see it, I actually tweeted about it. But I just thought, well, that name kind of sounds interesting. He says Tim Rim, so obviously that's a racial um, jab. And like I mentioned to someone today, I said that I those types of jokes, they're good if you're self-deprecating, or if like my friends are making that joke, I really don't care. But in this case, where someone is trying to besmirch my character, then obviously it's a racial epithet, which I don't appreciate, but that's fine. There are people out there who are just jerks. But then it dawned on me the name. So this guy, his name I think is Nob Saibot. He runs this site called CreatorGo, and CreatorGo is an aggregate of quote unquote Comicsgate books. As I've said several times in the past, we're not part of any movement. We are completely independent. We are Iconic Comics. We're under an imprint called Iconic Comics. We're fully independent. We're essentially planets hovering around a sun, but we're all autonomous. You have Long Harbor over here, you have Soulfinder over here, Punchline over here, and then we have Kamen America on this side of the solar system. We're all very friendly with each other. We have the same gravitational pull. We have almost equal orbits, but we're very much independent when we do things. We just happen to be under an imprint where it's very fair in terms of how we buy our materials, how our exposure works on social media. We work very, very cooperatively with each other. It's a very, I don't want to say it's a unique model, because it's not. There's so many businesses and co-ops that do the same thing that we do. But I think in independent comics, it certainly is unique, because it's very rare that you have different creators who decide that we agree on similar principles and want to be in a collaborative space together. So with this uniqueness, you have to also realize that in particular movements, they don't like us. Now, you might be new to this and you might be thinking, well, that's not true. I consider you part of it. Well, people who have been around longer than you don't consider us part of it. That's fine. People want to put us in certain holes where they think that our values are aligned with theirs. That's hunky dory. If I say that I like comics to be produced in a scheduled fashion and to get out on time with reverence and respect towards readers, and you happen to agree with that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the movement that has essentially not really wanted us up until recently, when we started having success, you don't get to claim us all of a sudden. That's not fair to us, because we did not have the benefits of your movement to help us along. We had the benefits of individuals who had faith in us, despite some of the things that were said about us and some of the misconceptions that people were spreading about us. We were able to succeed in spite of other people. You do not get to turn around and claim us in this regard. So the person who owns CreatorGo turns out to be this guy. And this guy happens to be the logo creator for a lot of these books, including, and I hate to say it, including some of Richard C. Myers. And then to top it off, I thought, I have messaged this guy. So I'll bring this up real quick. I messaged him in January earlier this year. And here's what I said. I actually posted it online. I said, hello, we would like to ask that all Iconic Comics books be taken off your tally for Indiegogo sales attributed to certain comics movements. While we appreciate readers from all corners, we are and remain fully independent, especially during these times when litigation is proceeding on as to which individuals claim ownership to the trademark of the movement itself. It is not fair for us to be included in those ranks, as it does a disservice to us by misattributing our success. Thank you and have a happy new year. And he replied and said, got it. Continue the good work and have a great 2022. So that was very congenial. I really, appreciated that. But here we are. It's January 29th, and he still hasn't taken it off. We are still listed there. And there are people who say, well, our movement is succeeding. Look at our numbers. Look how well we're doing. And our numbers are included in there. Again, that's cheating. You can't do that based on what a lot of people have done to try and besmirch our reputation, put us down, talk bad about us, or in light of what we're doing correctly, not attribute success to our own merit. So I need to point that out, because there are a lot of people who say, well, no, I like your work and I like what these people are doing. And that's fine. You can have that cross-pollination happening there. But whenever you hear these numbers pop up saying like, oh my gosh, like they're doing so well, there's some chunk of change in there that is not part of that, and we don't appreciate it. I have asked this person to take it down. They have not taken it down. And then top it off, here he is calling me racial epithets. And I didn't know this, but he has his own comic campaign apparently. So I posted some of the comments up here that people were saying. Like, here's one: empty promises. Another one: three replies and an update making us all the more confused. How come there's no option to respond to an Indiegogo update with confused? Because I'm not sure, and I don't think I'm the only one being ignored and disregarded as my concerns are not being heard. This is not the future of comics. Another one: I am order number 628 and I would like a refund, please. Again, hi, not to be a nag or anything, but I still haven't gotten my comic. Another one: hi, Ethan. I noticed in update 25, you said most people should have their books by now, unless at the $50 tier. I did the $40 tier, haven't gotten anything yet. And then someone else calls them like a fraud. So there are a lot of things happening where you should clean your house first before you start worrying about what we're doing over here, especially when you're trying to call me by like a racial epithet and say that I hate someone. I don't hate anyone. Richard C. Meyer and I have actually had lunch. He was actually invited to a comic convention because I was able to arrange for him to be there. So there's no hate going on there. If we disagree on something, like if, for example, I know that in the recent poll that he did, he mentioned that like lateness was not that big of a concern as far as what his readers think. I have a problem with his math and I have a problem with some of his statistics. But I think that disagreement has more to do with business objectively than it does any quote unquote hate. He's free to do whatever he wants, and by all measures, he seems to believe that he's doing very well, and that's fine. If that's acceptable for him, and if it's acceptable for his readers, that's great. But in the meantime, like, I don't appreciate it when people say that there's hate on our part. We mind our own business. We kind of do our own thing. There are some creators that we look at to see what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong, and we try to see what we can do to try and adapt for ourselves. But for the most part, we kind of remain insular in our own bubble, trying to do the best that we can do to succeed. So I just want to make that point known, just because I don't think that I think that of all the things I've seen just within the last 24 hours, that was the most disingenuous comment that I've seen so far. There's some just generic haters that we see out there. There's one guy, we know who he is. He's a big comic creator, YouTuber, who uses sock accounts. And it was funny because a few weeks ago I said, just watch, within 5 days of our campaign launching, this guy's going to resurface. He always resurfaces on YouTube when we launch campaigns. He's never around anytime else. And to find out who he is, you just have to find out who he doesn't attack. That's how you know who he is. And sure enough, like yesterday, he just started posting all this stupid stuff about us. But we just kind of laugh about it. And it's like, well, sometimes these people, what you have to do is just deprive them of metaphorical oxygen so that they're just screaming into the wind, essentially. But there's really nothing that can be done to kind of damp our spirits or our happiness, because like I said, we're doing very well thanks to a lot of you, thanks to basically all of you, for either buying our books or retweeting, sharing, talking about it with your friends, posting videos and reviews on YouTube channels, making fan art. This is the part that elevates our spirits and really makes it worthwhile. And we're having a blast doing it. I work on Kamen America and Black Ops all day, every day, when I'm not with my family or with my wife or with hanging out with friends. I don't have time to waste with dalliances and with other superfluous details. I'm enjoying myself way too much to really worry about a lot of it. And so it really is just kind of a gnat that you just have to swat from time to time just to take care of it. But everything is going very well, and we're very pleased. Okay, let me go and look at some of the chat. I haven't really been paying attention, so let's see here. There's a lot of you who showed up. Oh my gosh, I haven't been looking. Let's see. Hervoge is here. Oh, hey, Hervoge, how's it going? Hervoge, this might be a dumb question, but are you from the Czech Republic? If so, I think we announced it on Discord, but we didn't make it public, but we actually opened up international shipping to all the European Union countries. And we did it as part of a pilot program because we want to see how difficult it is to fulfill. And so that means I think there's about 40 to 50 slots available. So anyone listening, if you're in an EU country and you want these books, even though it says we're only shipping to 5 countries, go ahead and buy it and it will go through as long as you're part of the European Union. We're going to see how this works because there's some math involved. For example, with the UK, you now have to pay a VAT. That's a value added tax. The EU has its own thing. I think it's called the IOSS. It is supposedly a little bit easier than working with the VAT, but some of the same rules apply. I don't want to overwhelm Iconic with a bunch of international orders because they're very expensive. So that's what we're trying out right now. And for some of the people who, again, tuned in from the Ember Discord chat, they're jumping on board with the EU shipping and they're very happy about it. Still haven't done Mexico or Latin America yet. There's still a very, very high percentage of stolen parcels. And so we really need to make sure that we have our game together before we start looking into that a little bit more. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how many people were in this chat. So whenever I do these types of things, I actually have my eyes closed. That way I can focus on talking and not be completely distracted. Oh, Full Custom Hot Dog is here. Hey, Full Custom Hot Dog. I like your streams on Tuesdays, the Kinonomicon, between yourself and Nasser and Mark. Those are a lot of fun. That's a really good show if you guys want some entertainment. They always talk about horror movies, but they always get distracted and talk about other things. But it's kind of like a 45-minute to an hour-long comedy routine is what it tends to boil down to. Yakov Merkin is here. Hey, Yakov. Are you in New York or Israel nowadays? It's always between the two, and I really don't know, depending on when you tweet and say stuff. Rob Kuro is here too. Hey, Rob. It's sad to hear the salt from other creators are increasing. It's okay. Like I said, doesn't really damage us. I think at one point it probably did. There was a lot of word of mouth going around that we weren't to be trusted or this and that, but just judging from the people's reactions who get our books on time, you can fault us for many things because we're human, so we're not perfect. But as far as the way we get our books out and the quality of them, I don't think that part can be disputed. Oh, there's Thomas Royaloop. It's not just good. Their success is good. Actual good comic is successful. Thank you very much. If y'all haven't picked up his book, he has a book called Literally, which I know a lot of people will make fun of, but I actually defend because if you want a really good book so our philosophy is this. We read a lot of comics. Mark and I did. Not necessarily all superhero comics. We read a lot of web comics and miscellany, but we always feel that whenever you're making a comic, the art and the writing have to match. And if you're doing a comic that's silly or that's satire, sometimes your art can be crude or it can be sketchy because all you're trying to do is convey something. Take, for example, Calvin and Hobbes. I was talking to Phil Cummings about this yesterday after stream. Calvin and Hobbes, Bill Watterson, his art is very good. But if you look at it, there are just certain things that he does that's not considered to be like in proportion. For example, whenever he draws Calvin, his shoes are literally like dinner rolls. And they're dinner rolls with just like crudely drawn shoelaces on them. But it doesn't distract from the charm. That's actually part of it because he's able to accomplish the story that he needs to. And so his style is very unique and distinct. We look at it with a lot of joy. And with the Roy Loops' book, with Literally, they essentially achieve something that's the same, where you kind of have these very, very funnily drawn drawings. And you have this girl, Helen, and you're not quite sure if the world she's living in is real or fiction, but it achieves the goal that it needs to. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, but the art is bad. Oh, this book sucks. And I just beg to differ. Again, people's taste might be different. Some people don't like our books. That's fine. But I do think that his was one of the best value books that you could have gone last year. Let's see here. Ironverse Comics is here. There's another person, Cody Fernandez. He has the Jack Irons book, and he crowdfunds that. He keeps a really low profile, so he doesn't get really mixed up in a lot of the nonsense that you find online. But you guys want to check out his book. It's a space western starring Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy. Bakuman will keep you humble and going in all this. Great inspiration. Yes, I agree. I think that's one of those series that I'm going to watch every year or read every year. because it was just addicting. And a lot of it has mirrored some of the things that Mark and I have done, because it's about a writer and an artist and how they have to work together to come up with stuff. And it also shows a competitive field of manga, which is a lot more competitive than here, but it's more, in my opinion, collegial. Everyone's competing with each other, but it's healthy. It's a healthy competition to try and make sure that you are putting the best product out there, and getting readers to really like it and resonate with it. Draw and talk, Tyler. Hey, Tim, you got this. Tim, you rock. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And then David Asanovich, it was Tim Rim. It's always Tim Rim, that troublemaker. Comic Book Hut is here. Name drop. Big Man Little Flowers. Tim, how's your health? You've been in my prayers. Congratulations on your ongoing success. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's better. But within the next week or two, I have a procedure that needs to be done. So I'm not out of the woods yet. But again, like I said, I have a few health problems, but I try to, I'll talk about it just because, in all transparency, if I have any delays or anything like that, I mean, I just have to be accountable for it. But because I manage my time around my extraneous life, it typically won't play a role into it. If something does happen to me, my wife and Mark know exactly what to do. We have a contingency plan in place. But you can never go wrong with prayers. I really appreciate them. And then, Bean from PA, haven't seen you here in a while. Just wanted to say hi and hope everyone is well. I hope you're doing well, Bean. I know wherever you are, you're having to deal with mandates and snow and stuff like that. So I'm doing fantastic. I hope you're doing well, because at least here in the South, there's not a lot of nonsense that we have to put up with. And then, let's see, Divine Comedy Product. Oh, you're another one I wanted to thank. You did that very heartfelt video about how Kamen America resonated with you. I enjoyed that one quite a lot. And again, you touched on some of the points that Mark and I had put into the book. There's a lot of personal experience that Mark and I write into it, because that's the best stuff. I mean, like, some of the stuff that we may have some firsthand experience with or secondhand experience with, we try to incorporate that as much as possible into our writing. Not to the point where it's like really on the nose, but enough that we can write our heroes and our villains in a way that's inspired by some of these real life experiences. Kaiser Crimson, another one I see quite often. I think a very long time supporter. I couldn't imagine being into comics and not keeping an eye on iconic. They're absolutely inspirational. We're not really doing anything new. That's the funny thing to me, is I think in essence, guys like Brian Pulido have already been doing this for a decade. Brian Pulido has his own museum. He has his own warehouse and museum. And I mean, that's kind of where we want to go. I think probably the key difference is that Brian Pulido has his own book. So he's basically like a one-man band. Whereas with Iconic, we're really trying to get as many very good properties under the belt as possible. I have no control over which books get accepted and which don't. I'm not part of the curation process, only in so much as they can get my input if something comes across their table and they need me to opine on it. But so far, it's very few and far in between. I think the only time that's happened is they said, well, what do you think about like Long Harbor? But depending on, what I have to say, it was too late. They had already signed a deal and everything to get it published. So again, that was one of those things where I virtually had no say in it. And that's fine. I would really not like that culpability, because I don't want to be blamed or to be cast upon in case someone applied and got rejected. Again, I don't have much control over any of that. Rob Kuro asks, is there a common rap music video? I have to find a rapper first. So that's that's gonna take precedence. Douglas Ernst, congrats, man. Vanilla is the man and will forever be connected to TMNT. Yeah. I've met him once. We met him in March of last year. And he's a very nice man, very humble. He's one of the most humble celebrities I've encountered. Just very down to earth. He's actually shyer than you would think he is. Like he turns red whenever people meet him and they thank him for the music that they gave them when they were children and teenagers and young adults and whatnot. Master J, hi Tim. I've seen you a lot too. I've seen you a lot recently on Twitter for sure. Samuli Olki, Iconic Comics is pretty much what people ought to strive for if they want stability in their business. Yeah, everyone can do it. It takes capital, obviously, but it's something that you can build up to. And especially some of the people who have done it longer or have more capital, I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing it. Again, there's not a lot of secret sauce in it. I think probably the hardest part is you have to be of like mind when it comes to business and principles and practice. I think that's the hard part. There are a lot of egos in independent comics and mainstream comics, and I think that becomes prohibitive because of the jockeying that happens. But we're all here to help each other. I'm here to help Alejandro. We're here to help Eric Canetti. The feeling is mutual. Eric Canetti will help us. Douglas Ernst is a huge help because of all of us. He has the biggest social media outreach. So we all are here to help each other, and we all have a good time. We've all met each other, and I think that's one thing that I personally liked is when we all got together last year. It turns out we all really, really like each other. We like hanging out, and it's cool. Everything kind of devolves into very sophomoric humor, but heck, that's the fun of it. Oh, Tank Ferret is here too, dropping by to show some love. Hey, thanks. Really appreciate it. Ethereal Dragon, everyone that just got on. Another person that I've known for quite a while now. Alfonso Prouty, hey, you did that Kamen Ramen art that you posted, I think on Instagram or on Twitter not too long ago. Thanks for that. That was really cool. I like how you did the speed eating motion using that technique where you draw the hands multiple times. That was really neat. And then let's see. Comics should matter but don't. Hating someone is like drinking poison expecting the other person to die. Yeah, that's completely true. I mean, there are times where a lot of times when we have like our business meetings and we talk on the phone, we'll actually point out what we consider bad practices. We'll say, hey, look at this person. And the guy who heads Iconic or Doug or I will say, oh my gosh, like I don't understand what they're thinking. That's not hate. That's just pointing out what we consider to be something to avoid. Sometimes you make fun of it just because, it's just considered like, what in the world are you thinking? Like you should know by now that that's not how you do things. But again, everyone's business is their business, and they can keep on doing what they want to, and we'll keep on doing what we do over here. Nerdette's Newsstand. Hiya! How's it going, Nerdette? I haven't seen you around in a while. I hope everything is fine. I know that your channel is doing very well. I've seen some of these big names that you've had on there, for sure. Let's see. Mark Mann, I'm surprised about hearing this. I thought Comicsgate was just a comics version of Gamergate where there are no leaders and are trying to create their industry. I think in its inception, there definitely weren't leaders. There were people who had more prominence, and they were great creators of content as far as their videos are concerned. You had guys like Douglas Ernst, you had Englentine, obviously you had Richard Meyer, but he came later. There was Captain Cummings, there was Mim Headroom. I really miss Mim Headroom. There was Unranked Chevron, and it's all grassroots. So these are all just people who read comics and just have their own insights into them. Prior to Comicsgate, there was a movement that was called Comics Liberty, and it was almost like an in-between offshoot between Gamergate and Comicsgate. And the idea or the philosophy was just create what you want. Who cares? Like if it's something that is politically right or left, it doesn't matter. The idea is that the medium to thrive has to have very little barriers to it as possible. So just make sure that everyone is free to create what they want. And part of the reason why guys like Doug Ernst and myself and Mark Pellegrini, our philosophy is that there are certain practices that you have to do in comics to not only succeed, but to thrive. And we believed that a lot of the mainstream had let us down. So there was no point in trusting anyone from the mainstream. You should just go fully independent and embrace that. And I think that from what I've heard, again, when it comes to Gamergate, I was very late to that party. I really don't even know anything about it other than things I've heard or things that I've read, is that they were a little bit more successful in the idea that they didn't have any leadership. And in gaming, I was talking to Mark Kernwin from Ember about this. In gaming, gamers are incredibly merit-based. Like they can see through a lot of BS because they want a game that challenges them so that they can overcome the challenge and have fun while doing it. They don't want things handed to them. They don't like being pandered to. If a game is too easy and you beat it within a day, there's no point in owning it because it's essentially a waste of money because there's a lot more money to be put in gaming. So I don't like the idea of any type of movement that is non-political in nature having leaders. I think political movements are different because the end goal of a political movement is to achieve your goals. You need to elect a leader. So I think that that is different than something where it's a consumer driven movement where you want certain changes and you want a different philosophy involved, or you want to champion a certain philosophy. Those are cases where you might have examples of that, but to have leadership in there, I think only serves the people who are the leaders of that position. And what happens is once people become leaders, they tend to ostracize people that might be competitive against them, or who might form a threat against them, or who might disagree with them. So I think that there are some fundamental differences between the two. And some people who are maybe new to all of this, they might not know about that. But again, it's not my place to necessarily tell them. I mean, everyone is free to associate with who they want. That's not any of my concern. Lord Zandrick, I got a little mad when Kamen America was called porn. I buy books for my son. He gets Kamen America and I get Black Ops. We share the books and talk about them together. Thank you for sharing that. That's I'm very touched. I like the idea of younger people reading comics. Whenever we do comic conventions, we're very happy to see young adults, typically between the ages of like 14 and 16, who really like our books. And we try to make our books all ages. They do feature heroines who are definitely proportioned to be very idealized, but nothing we publish is considered pornography. And so I don't know if when that one person said it, I don't know if they were being trolls or if they actually meant it, but I really hope that they come to know, if they don't know already, that is not pornography. We actually discourage it. We have seen some people who have drawn it, and sometimes the art is really good, but it's like, well, we can't share that out because that's not the image that we want to necessarily present. Oh, Barb Rogers is here. I haven't seen you in a long time. Hello, Barb. This is a bunch of trucks going. I think I know what that's a reference to, but yeah, like that's really cool. Tencent Story is here. Kevin Cummings. One time Tim Lim sent me a comic while on deployment. Everyone loved it. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, I really hope that you liked it. Man, a lot of love in the chat going on here. The Second Street Marvel, there's a new one. Yeah. Woohoo, rock on. All right, I need to get going, so let me take a look here. Creep Dimensions. Hey, Bunderdem, found out about you through just some guy. Shamefully, I must admit, I never really got around to buying your volumes during high school and now in college. That's okay. You can get them now, and you can buy them digitally. So if you go on Amazon, you can buy the whole Kamen America library, and you can buy Black Ops Omnibus, which I'm very happy to say the Black Ops Omnibus and Volume 4, not Volume 4, the crossover, they are on Amazon Kindle right now, and they're number one and as of this morning, number 1 and number 2 in military graphic novels. So yeah, we have them up there. So you can go on Amazon Kindle and check them out. They are actually DRM free, so there's no watermarks or anything on them. You pay about $7 and you get the files. So it's really good. Lester Dog. In recent years, any crowdfunding comics have dropped the ball so many times that standard practice became something people noticed. That's another thing, is that I addressed this in another video, but just because the expectation is lateness doesn't mean that should be the standard. If you can control the lateness, then why be late? Like, I don't understand why that's a choice that you should even have. That would be like saying, well, do you want the good burger or the bad burger? The norm is the bad burger. Well, if I'm trying to compete in the burger industry, why do I want to make a bad burger? If I can take that off the table, then you just know that that's one thing that the readers won't complain about. They're not going to complain about late books. So why do you hold that standard to yourself? Or why do you promise to deliver a book on time and then not deliver on time? Like, that puzzles me the most, because we set our schedule. I'm the one who goes into Kickstarter and tells it our fulfillment's going to be in May. Well, I know that our books are already being printed and they're going to be delivered to us in March, but I set the May deadline just in case something goes wrong. Like maybe the truck catches on fire, or maybe something happens to me. I don't know. Or maybe the pallets go missing, which actually did happen like back in November. But we set that. So I think that when you have gone through one campaign and you don't know how to schedule, that shows that you're either lazy, incompetent, or you don't know how to keep deadlines on your own because you're too busy or you're too preoccupied doing something else. I'm sorry, but that's what that boils down to, because we have full control over it. If I know that I'm late, I'm just going to say this is going to be due in 2025, because then your expectation is 2025. So I don't understand why you would need to I don't understand why you would try and shoot yourself in the foot like that. Rangemaster Dan is here. Hey Tim, congrats on the new campaign. Dan, thank you and your wife for everything. You guys are great. I hope that you're enjoying the Venezuelan restaurant. I was thinking about that on our way home today. I thought if I've helped them in any way, shape, or form, it was introducing Dan to that restaurant so that you could introduce it to your wife, because it seems like you guys are enjoying it, even though I'm not there. Tyga527, waiting for Soulfire Volume 3 and to hope that Doug might discount his books a little, and then I'll grab them all. Doug is listening, and he likes innovating. So if the price is a concern, then I am sure that he will work on it. But I will also say that if you thought our books are nice, his books are really nice. He takes the hardcover thing very seriously. So it's not just a hardcover. You get the whole shebang. You get the gilded pages and the bookmark and everything. You get glow in the dark. Hopefully he does not do scratch and sniff in the future, but who knows? That might be an option. Neostar Productions, brilliant star that shines through the night. The steel trapped in snares evil. Riser Man stands before you. Hey, Neostar, you're another person I've seen around these parts for quite a while. And there's Nefarious. Yo, Neostar. Let's take a look here. Hold on one second. I need to mute my mic. My wife is talking to me. We were talking about guns. So, okay. Art Mark is here. Woo! Hey, Art Mark. I always say this whenever he pops up. Make sure that you go on Twitter, and if you want to see a guy who can draw in a Trigger style, Trigger Animation Studios, he's the guy that you want to hit up because his commissions are dope. I'm gonna get some art from him here very soon too. I always say that, but this time I will absolutely. Roscoe Coltrane, I have to open my omnibus tonight. Yeah, get that reading done. That's some good stuff. The Flock Comics groups, I shipped out within a week of arrival on my doorstep. I'm not Amazon, but they were sent out within days. Yeah. I hear your book is awesome too. The Flock. I think that's about it. I think we're getting caught up on everything. All right. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us on the stream. We don't do this too often because, as I've said before, if I have nothing to talk about, then there's just no reason in popping on. So unless there's a pressing subject that I feel like addressing, then we'll address it. But in the meantime, what we do is we just update whenever we either hit a milestone or whenever we really have something to discuss. But I gotta get going because we have a plumbing problem here that we need to do. Our whole backyard flooded this morning, so the sub pumps are working, but we don't know what's going on. This is an older house that we're in, so we got to do some maintenance over here. Oh, real quick, Anonymous Goblin. Hi Tim, if you ever want some inspiration for what cryptids to put in Black Ops or Kamen America, I have a whole playlist I think you'd like. Well, I can see for right now that you actually have the Hopkinsville Goblin as your avatar, and the goblins actually appear in Black Ops X Kamen America, and we have another one that is going to be appearing in the crossover later on this summer, so make sure that you stay tuned. But I definitely like cryptids, and I have my own list of them that I want to introduce, so don't worry, I will make note of that. So I'll make sure to take a look at your channel if we need a little bit more inspiration. All righty, y'all have a good day and have a good week. Thank you all again for tuning in and for supporting us. I really appreciate it. Mark and I both. We had lunch today, and we were just talking about how humbling it is that we are where we are. And ultimately, besides telling good stories, we don't want to disappoint you. We hope that as you read every volume, that you feel like you're being rewarded for the stories that we tell. And believe me when I say that we love telling them. We have this planned out to the very end. And so we hope that you stick with us because we're going to take you for a pretty wild ride. And God bless you all. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.